Hello and welcome back to part 3 of Enchanted. So we're back and we're picking up where we left off. This is the point in which I'm going to kind of go into how the counterfeit works. Nancy took off. She went and we did not see her for a few scenes at this point. But at the same point in time, Edward is falling through the hole to come into reality. But he's not just falling through the hole to come into reality. It's him and the chipmunk that was one of her best friends. And he comes to the realization that he no longer can speak in this reality. There are things that work and operate in a certain way in the kingdom, but in reality, they don't translate the same. So it's harder to understand them when they speak. The Word of God is harder to understand in the real world in relation to everything else. In reality, where it makes perfect sense if you walk in the Spirit. Now, as the prince manifested in this reality and the chipmunk, they are trying to figure out this reality the same way Elsa is. Now, the counterfeits. I wanted to go into this. Vashti to Esther and the kingdom redeemer that was the relative to Naomi in comparison to Boaz. Okay? Our Esther is Elsa. And Vashti is Nancy. Boaz is our lawyer figure, where the Redeemer who has rightful ownership to have Elsa is the prince. But reality versus the spiritual realm, there may not be a clear picture as to why this does not work. It's going to become clearer as we get down to the point when we get to the ball later on in this story. Vashti only understood her world from the viewpoint in which she understood it. She became someone that we did not really get to know. A lot of us have seen, maybe we've seen our ordained spouse's ex. Maybe we know of our ordained spouse's ex. Some people may even know their ordained spouse's ex. Some people have observed and seen with this particular person, but they don't know what went down between the two of them. They don't know what was going on between this particular person, the mother, and him. They don't know. They don't understand, and this is actually going to bring in a third character, because the queen acted like this person. When you think of, and this brings in a point that I was thinking about and did not get a chance to further expound upon. But when we look at the queen in Snow White, we look at Maleficent in Sleeping Beauty, and we look at this queen in Enchanted, they all have the same feel. They all feel like somebody that you should hate. I should not like this person. They look like somebody I hate. They shouldn't be in this environment. They should not be here. This is what we have done to Vashti. This is what we do to the ex, whoever their ex was. We do that to the God-ordained spouse of sex. Oh, they shouldn't be here. Da, 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 da. Some people do that. But the fact of the matter is, it's something that I've noticed. I've noticed this paying attention over the years, that what happens is the Vashti, the ex, the whoever that person was, the counterfeit looks so much like the real thing that your God-ordained spouse can't tell it apart. It's not until he interacts with you does he see the difference. Prophetic Encouragement did a word recently that when you hold up a counterfeit bill to the light, you can instantly tell that it's a counterfeit because of the way that it's made, the paper, and so on and so forth. Nancy is your Vashti, is your counterfeit. But when you look at Nancy, does she look like somebody that is out to be an issue? No. Matter of factly, she actually was not trying to be an issue. She just was in love with the man. Megan Michelle did a word recently where she talked about either the counterfeit deserves forgiveness and love too, something like that, where she talked about the fact that these people don't know that they were in the wrong place sometimes. Some of them do. Some do. And that's where you run into the Jezebelic queen-like character that is evil, that is just like, I see you, I don't like you. They turn and they become a demonically possessed witchcraft running, if I can't have them, and can't nobody have them type female. But some are like Nancy. I just was here. I fell in love with this man. He was what I thought that I wanted. It's just, he wasn't for her. Because if you start to notice Nancy's character, she carries a lot of elements just like Elsa. When he went to apologize to her after the big dance number and she was in a building that looked like a fabric place that she manufactured clothes. Elsa was cutting the clothes out of curtains in the house. She did things very directly and without rule, where Nancy was very straight-laced. She had her job. She was this, that, and the other thing. She looked like what was perfect for him. Vashti looked like she belonged in the kingdom. She looked like the gorgeous woman. She looked like so on and so forth. But she had a seed within her spirit, much like Maleficent, the queen, these figures deep-seatedly. That's what Jezebel is. Jezebel is that deep-seated pride within self over their beauty, pride within self that I got the guy, pride within self. That's what Jezebel really is. It's pride. Pride of self. But deep down inside, and somebody made this point, I've seen a couple of people make this point. Vashti was who the king loved, and he would have married her. Well, he married her in the story, but I'm thinking about the movie. This guy would have married this woman because he loved her. He'd been with her for so long, and he'd taken all of the time to get to know and prepare himself, and he was ready to make that step. But this is what God does. God says, okay, I got you to this point, but that's not the one. That's not the one. And I'm not going to go any further in my case with that. But when the Lord presents you, for as it states in Genesis, that God will take you out of his body as his rib, form you and shape you, turn you into everything that this man needs before he presents you before him. What he does to the man is he presents him something that looks almost identical. And he allows that to be presented because of the fact that he's saying, I need you to want this. I need to see that you want this. I need you to screw up all you're going to screw up with this. So when I present you the good thing, the movie, The Perfect Match, don't watch that movie because it's rated R. I saw it years ago, and it's that's because it's a bunch of sex scenes in there. But the storyline talks about a man that he had all these player ways. He wouldn't settle down with a woman until he met his perfect match. This woman was everything he felt he needed. She matched him on every level. But it was all the wrong things. And when she burned him by him finding out she was playing him like he played all the others, it took him being burnt that bad to make him realize, man, I need to stop doing this. Because he got to feel the heat that he was giving everybody else. And in feeling the heat by the end of the movie, that very same woman that was presented to him in the very beginning of the film that he went on a blind date with because his friends wanted him to go out with her. He couldn't see her because he was still wrapped up in his stuff. She was sitting right next to him. He sat there and had dinner with her. By the end of the movie, she comes back to him. He's at the same coffee shop he met the counterfeit at. He met the woman that he thought was everything that broke his heart. And he comes to realization because he can now see clearly that this woman had all of the characteristics that woman that he got all hemmed up by. But she was sweet and kind. She even loved the same cappuccino that he loved. But he couldn't see that because he was still caught up in his ways. Some of y'all men were so caught up in their ways, it took them dating a counterfeit for the Lord to say, I'm going to break your heart with this person. I'm going to break your heart. I'm going to break your spirit. I'm going to break you down into nothing with this person because I need you to see that this ain't it. Everything that you've been trying to accomplish with your life and all of this, she's about to break you down. That's what Vashti represents. The woman that's going to break them down. Because when Xerxes had to take up the edict over the palace because it would make him look like a simp. Should I go into that, Lord? I was listening to the Black Financial Channel the other day, and Dr. Boyce Watkins was talking about this simp mentality men being looked at as being soft. And in this element, if he did not, what I initially thought was that he banished Vashti. Mm-mm, mm-mm. He didn't banish Vashti, he killed her. She could not live for what she did to him by embarrassing him and not coming to present herself before the court the way in which he asked for her to. But the way he asked for her to present herself was to come out butt naked and dance for his people, which was disrespectful. One, he had to come to the understanding you can't treat every woman like that. You can't treat a woman, walk around and be your prostitute. Okay? Some of these men have been walking around with women. They got the big butt, the boobs, the breasts, the hair, the this, the makeup, all of that. They got it all. And they out there and they acting like all of this. And they in their drunkenness. Because recognize this. Boaz and Xerxes drank. Oops. They were not perfect men. They drank themselves stupid sometimes. Yes, they drank themselves stupid sometimes. And when they did, they talked smack out their mouth and did all kinds of foolishness. And they in a place of royalty. It's accepted for him to have the big butt girl with the long Brazilian hair. Because that's the one that in their foolishness, when they acting foolish, when they out there drunk, when they out there doing whatever they doing, whether it's drugs or whatever it is, that's shit that's going to get down with them when they want to get down. But that's the chick that's going to break their heart if they ever think that she's going to be wifeable. And Hosea and Gomer, this woman left this man, went out, prostituted, had a baby by somebody else, and kept coming back. That's who these women are. Now, the case of Nancy in this film, she actually was very plain Jane. She just was one of those types of women that she wanted what she wanted. She wanted him because she thought that he loved her. But she wasn't the one. She just wasn't the one. And it don't always got to be that element. It looks good for him to be standing next to her. Some of these women that were the wrong one, it looked good for them to be standing next to these women. But they ain't the one. Which brings me to the next point, musical chairs. Lady Jeremiah released a word 2 days ago that was inaccessible to me until last night. I think that's because all things had to come into order today. That God is doing musical chairs. God is, just like I just said about this man, he had to be broke down by the people around him, and he had to see and be exposed, and every one of them needed to be exposed for the real true feelings that they had for him. And he's had to purge and prune and take out people from his life that he probably didn't want to remove at the time, because he thought these people were for him, whether it be family, whether it be friends, whether it be business associates, whether it be the woman that was standing next to his side that was literally draining all of his energy. He had to let it go. And some of them externally had the appearance, they just wanted to be with somebody that was real. But at the same time, there's that jealous streak of pride that says, I ain't gonna let this man go because this is the closest thing I've ever had to a good thing. And like, hell, I'm gonna let this go. There's two sides to every story. Some of them did not turn narcissistic until they thought that this particular person was going to leave. Why? Some of them, just like in Cinderella, if you remember way back when I did Cinderella, it was only a few weeks back, that the mother of the two stepchildren sang a song that talked about how she treated men. You're supposed to lure them in, get their money, and let them go or do whatever. These women have learned a specific way that, whether it's because of survival of how their parents treated them or things that they saw their parents do, then as they grew up and the men in their lives and the hurt that they went through from their own past love experiences caused them to be deep-seatedly hurt, where externally maybe they were a Nancy. And it's funny, her name was Nancy. What do you always hear about Nancy? What do we always hear about Nancy? What do we always hear about Nancy? Hold on. She's like the nitpicker. She's like, everything's got to be perfect for Nancy. Because if it's not perfect, she goes ham. Think about the women that, Bridezillas. They good as long as everything is perfect. But then as soon as something go wrong, it's like they're a demon. Nancy was not like this in this film. Nancy just loved like she loved. But it can be comparative to the Jezebel because there's such a thing as a level of vindictiveness that looks like softness. There's some levels of vindictiveness that looks like loud, I'm going to control you, this, that, and the other. Some control in peace. Some control by speaking peace over the situation. They talk in soft voices. They cover in peace. There's no confusion. They just know that they know this person and have gauged the way they operate, that they can control them without ever raising their voice. But they have a level of control over the person. Nancy isn't quite like this either because she just loves. But some of these women that have been in these men's lives, they came off as a Nancy. They came off as just sweet, kind, loving people. But deep down, that when triggered and that trigger from their childhood wound was opened up, they become the narcissist that says, if I can't have you, can't nobody have you. So we're going to skip all of the dancy, all of this, but I will tell you this. The queen realizes her son has gone to the real world to go get Elsa. A man leaves his mother and father's house and goes and cleaves to his wife. Oh, prophetic poetry. I mentioned this before. She did the word stating that they come into you anyway. This man left his reality and realm to go find Elsa. During this sequence, you see a series of events where he's chasing, he goes to the diner, he goes there, he goes there, he goes there, and she even sends the lackey because she's like, look, I need you to go in there because I can't go. I'm going, and she pretends that she's seducing the lackey with all of her words, word curses, whatever, and gets him to go by putting a spell on him to go down there and follow her son to make sure that he doesn't get to Elsa. So he spends the majority of the time that he's with the son trying to deter. But when certain things don't work, she ends up giving him apples by making them appear in a pot that is in a kitchen in the diner. And she gives him 3 apples. Sometimes what your enemies have done, what the Jezebel has done, is she has attempted to look exactly, be sweet, kind, and be a counterfeited version of you that is very sweet and kind, that is that calm narcissist. But anytime she thinks she's under threat, she pulls out the poison. One, she pulls out, this is where you see the splitting and the love spell being done. Okay? She does the splitter spell to try to split you from your God-ordained spouse because she sees his eyes are wandering over there to where you are. So what she'll do is she'll try to do witchcraft on you. This is when you notice you're getting sick to your stomach. This is when you notice you're having migraine headaches. This is when you notice that some of you are actually getting sick. This is when you notice you're having dreams of eating food. Can't remember some of your dreams. All this kind of foolishness. Because she's sending something to you. Because she's trying to poison your view of him, his view of you, or split you spiritually. Or straightly just to kill you. Some people have been under threat. Prophetic Poetry did a word a while back called Black Widow, where some of these women literally have been threatening your life to your God-ordained spouse. Like, you leave me, I'm going to go and I'm going to do whatever. You don't try me. Either she's threatening your life or she's threatening his. And because he's afraid for you, he falls in line. Until he gets tired of falling in line. And that's when the poison happens. Because some of them have been poisoning the men. Because if I can't keep him, then I'm going to take him out. But in this case, she wants to poison the woman. So, but there are 3 attempts to poison. The first 2 do not work. This is why she later on comes into the picture. There are attempts that the enemy has made on your life that didn't work. I literally was watching a video from another woman. God brings these videos to me in order, sequentially upon my feed from other people that I listen to on occasion. And the woman was saying, they've been watching you. They've seriously been watching you, and they do not understand why their attempts have not taken you out yet. Everything that they have done. Why ain't she dead yet? Why is she still alive? Why is she still around? What in the world is going on? Didn't I send you there to do this job? Some of them have actually hired psychics, actual witches. They aren't actually the one performing it. They've hired somebody to take you out through witchcraft. Send all of these things, and it's barely touching you. Why? Because God's got you covered. All you are feeling is a little bit nauseous. All you are feeling is you might get a headache that's a little bit more intense than the other headaches. And they still sitting there scratching their daggone heads. I said, everything, what the heck is going on? Why is she's still alive? She's still out here yo, look, come contact with her dude, and it's like, I done sent you 3 apples. 2 ain't work yet. What are you doing? He said, I tried. Dinner. After the guy gets Nancy back with a simple gesture, and I must talk about this. I think I'm going to bring it up in the next part because we're coming up to the end of this video. But throughout the day, what ends up happening is he takes Elsa to work. He asks his secretary, look, I need you to find out everything you can find out about where she belongs, her city, who the guy is, so that she can be found to get back with this guy. In the meantime, she's trying to get water from the aquarium. Don't know why. Anyway, he goes and he sees his 2 clients. When he comes back, she's still dancing around in the lobby area. He goes to his assistant and says, what did you find out? She's saying she's from Azarezalo. I forgot what the name of that country was. She said, I looked for it. I can't find the country. I can't find the state. I can't find this place nowhere. I don't know where she's talking about. It's like, are you sure that it's a real place? Because she seemed kind of like she off somewhat. So the clients come out and the lawyer's standing there for the other party, and then his boss comes out and she walks up to them and she's like, hi, how are you? Da, 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 and all this kind of stuff. And he said, no. And he's like, they're getting a divorce. She said, divorce? What is it? It's like, they're separating. They're no longer going to be together. They're forever no longer going to be together. She's like, but you should love her. I mean, her hair is beautiful, and you should tell her how beautiful her eyes are. And remind her of the things in which you fell in love with her for. And then she goes and sits down and has a moment with herself while the boss is telling her, what in the world are you doing? What are you doing? So he tries to get rid of her. He takes her out into the, it's like when the huntsman takes her out into the woods and tries to get rid of her. Snow White. He takes her outside, hands her some money, says, please, just go. I can't deal with you. And we're going to pause here and pick up in the next video. Until next time, much love, faith, peace, and blessings.